Hello, and what's going on? My name is Nicholas Governanti here with the State University of New York Athletic Conference. And for this week's Friday Five, we are here with Fredonia alumni, Dr. Sean Nelms. Doctor, how are we doing?
Good. Yourself?
Good, good.
Great.
So our first question for you, Dr. Nelms, is what is your current job? And briefly share your path to get to how you got there.
All right, my current job, I wear a few hats in my community of Rochester, New York. I am the director for the Center for Urban Education Success at the University of Rochester, where I'm an associate professor. I also am responsible for transforming schools under a partnership with the Rochester City School District, the University of Rochester, in the State Education Department at a school called East High School in Rochester, New York, where we're finding new and innovative ways to provide quality education to students and staff in our school community. And how I got here? Well, I was a student in Buffalo, New York. I grew up there on the east side of Buffalo and attended City Honors High School. And from there, I attended Fredonia State University, where I played basketball for 4 years. And that was from 1994 to 1998. And later went on to receive my master's and my doctorate from the University of Rochester. And I've been in public education ever since.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how do you think your experiences as a student athlete prepared you for post-college life?
Yeah, it's funny. There are lessons that I learned on the court and off the court. And I think when you're going through college, you don't recognize or realize how beneficial playing sports might be later on in life. And so for myself, it was the first time I had engaged with students who were outside of the Buffalo area. And so I had kids playing sports from really small rural towns, kids who came down from New York City and Long Island, and then of course the folks who played in the Rochester, Buffalo area. And to understand and meet people who had different religious beliefs and political beliefs was an experience that I'll never forget. It made me well-rounded. It made me patient. It allowed me to accept differing opinions, but to also articulate my own viewpoints more thoughtfully in a safe space. Now, being an athlete on campus allowed me to connect with adults in the community. I was brought, by a coach to Rotary meetings. I met local business persons. I was able to engage in activities throughout the campus as a student leader. And so I think sports in itself is more of a vehicle towards something greater. And as a student at the time, I had no idea what I was experiencing. I know I had a great time, I know I made great friends, but I find myself now in my current roles professionally, when I'm watching individuals deal with issues within the community, I feel prepared for them because I dealt with adversity on the court and off the court. And I had a group of individuals who I trusted to walk through that fire with me. When I am responsible for leading initiatives professionally and personally, I draw on the experiences I had as a team captain for the basketball team in the 90s. And I think also having and attending a school like Fredonia, where we had a rich alumni network, allowed me to appreciate the wisdom of those who came before me. And so I find myself today, even when I have questions around education or business, reaching out to Fredonia alum who I didn't play with because they were older than me. But every year they would come back and support us as athletes. And I created friendships and a bond with them that allow me to have a network of individuals throughout the state and throughout the country. So athletics provides and opens doors for many different things, personally and professionally. And at Fredonia in particular, because of our tight alumni network and the support of our local community, we were able to create bonds that will last a lifetime.
Would you say your transition from high school to college was difficult, or it was a little easier?
I think contextually, it was difficult because I was a first-gen student, and so I didn't have anyone at home to talk about college and the experiences I would have. And so I was living it as I was going. And so, I relied on school counselors and, of course, my coaching staff to help me navigate those things. So I think it was difficult from a cultural standpoint, meaning me going to college in a space that was unfamiliar to me and my family. I think the way in which universities are situated, particularly SUNY colleges are situated, they're predominantly in in rural settings. And so I hadn't spent that much time in rural settings prior to going to college, even though I was from Buffalo. And I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed the pace of it. I enjoyed the close-knit community. I missed the cultural and racial diversity that was not on the campus. But I think the college itself had networks of support for students who were first gen, networks of support for students who were probably in underrepresented groups like African Americans or Latino or Latinx. And so I think that the university itself did its best to create an environment where all kids could come and learn and grow together. And so that transition for me was tough. But my sophomore, junior year, Fredonia felt like home. And I found myself reaching back to the freshmen and telling them it's going to be okay. You know, first semester college.
First year, yeah.
I mean, so I think a lot of it just is transition. And I would say any job I've taken since then, there's been that first year transition. Mm-hmm. But Fredonia, like most SUNY schools, it's a very special place. It was very much student focused, and we had tons of supports, and I appreciated having those guardians, if you will, on campus as assistant coaches or athletic trainers or community boosters who support the team, who are always there to kind of keep your spirits lifted and to remind you that the end goal was very important, and it's life-changing if you made it through your 4 or 5 years of college.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for our next question, it is, what is your most memorable memory as a student athlete? Taking you back a couple of years, I know, but
easy, Nick, easy now.
Not too long ago, not too long.
So I think I was starting to reflect on probably memories I shouldn't share on this podcast. But my most memorable experiences from an athlete standpoint, I would say were definitely our road trips. I mean, we're playing euchre tournaments in the back of the bus, and we're eating, at Ponderosa, and
what year were you named a captain on the team?
I was a captain my junior and senior year. Yeah. So
did you play?
I played. Pardon me?
What position did you play?
I was a point guard. I was a point guard. Yeah. Well, actually, it's funny. I had a pretty bad knee injury, and so I played everything from the point guard to sometimes even playing center. I'm about 6'3". And so, I mean, my memories of Fredonia, from an athletic standpoint, there were probably a few, and I'll try to focus on 3. One is every year we had an alumni game, and all the alumni would come back, and we would take a weekend. We had a back-to-back weekend, and they would play alumni versus alumni game or alumni versus JV, depending on the year. And it was a moment that you watched as an athlete, and you couldn't wait to be on the alumni side when you graduated from college. And so I think the year after I graduated, so 99 is when I finished. I was in Fredonia for 5 years because I double majored, and I actually became an assistant coach in 1999. I played the alumni game every year up until last year. And it's just something that I just love doing. And so the alumni weekend was probably one of my most favorite memories. I think bonding with individuals who I played ball with from my freshman year to my senior year. I mean, I was in probably 5 weddings, and they were in my wedding, in terms of former athletes. I was also interested in the academics. I thought that Fredonia had a really good academic program as an education major and history major. And so I also enjoyed my studies. And I know that when we talk about college, folks don't talk about academics enough as a positive memory, but it really was. I felt prepared for my profession when I left. And I thought that was critical. And I think that foundation has allowed me to, continue on academically to achieve my terminal degree in my field and to become a superintendent of schools and now, leading a research center. So if it were not for Fredonia, I'm not certain how my foundation would have prepared me. And so since then I have, I'm sorry about that. I have shared that my niece and nephew have also attended Fredonia, and my daughter graduated last year.
Oh, nice.
So I would say, as an endorsement, I put the people who I love the most on that campus, and they've all done extremely well. In fact, I had an opportunity to be the commencement speaker for last year's graduation.
Oh, really?
I graduated. So
that's
the circle, right? And the commencement was in the gymnasium, and so to think about giving my daughter a speech, her classmates on the basketball court that I played on, was one of probably the most special moments I had as a Fredonia alum.
really came full circle there.
Yeah, it did. It did. It felt that way.
So, do you currently participate in athletics? If so, what? If not, when was the last time you competed?
Yeah, so I would do, if you would call alumni game as competition.
Basketball.
I would say once a year I played. Like I said, I had a pretty bad knee injury, so I played a bit after college, but my knee it's pretty messed up. But I get out there and try. I get out there and play. But alumni game, I don't play much between the games, but you stretch 2 weeks prior, so you don't pull a muscle. And you get out there and you play. It's a slow-paced game, and it's more about seeing guys you haven't seen in a long time and sharing memories and actually indoctrinating the kids who are playing varsity or JV at that time. Let them know that there's life beyond college, and you have a support system. There have been many alum that have reached out who are education majors who asked me to read their resumes or to be a reference for a job, or if they're having a hard time as a first year or second year teacher, just bouncing ideas off of one another. I find myself going out and supporting area coaches who played at Fredonia, who are now coaching locally. I don't have, I just go see them coach and go support them. So it really becomes a brotherhood across the state and across this country. And I'm very, very proud of it. I wear my Fredonia gear when I'm traveling to airports, and people often say, you went to Fredonia? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, or someone from another SUNY school will recognize it and say, hey, I attended Cortland, or,
Yep.
And I think that's special. That's something that's unique to New York State and something that we should all be proud of.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So for our last question for you, Doctor, it is, what advice would you give current student athletes that maybe you wish you got when you were in their position?
Yeah, I think that the best advice I can give, I think, is to embrace the moment and to use sports as an opportunity to make lifetime connections with individuals. I think about those who I speak to now socially from Fredonia. Most of them were athletes or involved in some activity on campus in some capacity, right? Those are people that you see in the weight room and you see, out socially. I would also say that to use those 4 years to make an impact on campus outside of athletics. I was a freshman class president when I was at Fredonia. I was also involved in the Black Student Union. I was involved at one point with our local newspaper on campus. I was in tons of clubs, and I think being more than just an athlete and a student is important. They have a presence on campus. People know who they are. And I think it's good for them to give back socially and to use their platform, if they have one, to use their platform to improve the overall school culture and climate. Like don't come in as an athlete and just simply leave as an athlete. I think you come in as an athlete and you leave as a leader. And you display those leadership skills on the court, but more importantly, they should be practiced off the court.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely. Well, this wraps up another Friday 5 here with Dr. Sean Nelms, current superintendent and former Fredonia alumni. Thank you so much, Dr. Nelms, for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Go Devils.